One of the most inspirational businessmen, the founder of Ant Group, Jack Ma, will be giving up control of Ant Group. Seemingly grounded business giant Jack Ma wasn't in public for quite a few times, after he criticized the Chinese government, which sparked a series of antitrust investigations against Ant Group. In fact, Jack Ma nearly disappeared after his criticism of the CCP, and even the public started to turn against him. He has been called a villain, an evil capitalist, and a blood-sucking ghost. So what happened with billionaire Jack Ma? And is he being forced to leave Ant Group? Well, today, in this video, we're going to discuss exactly that. Hello, and welcome to Business Ville, your one-stop solution for the latest business and geopolitics affairs. Ant Group's $37 billion IPO, which would have been the world's largest, was cancelled at the last minute in November 2020, leading to a forced restructuring of the financial technology firm and speculation the Chinese billionaire would have to cede control. Some speculations were that it was the Chinese government itself who halted the IPO, despite the opinion of certain analysts that relinquishing control could potentially hasten an IPO. Saturday's announced changes are likely to cause a further postponement due to listing regulations. According to Chinese A-share market standards, any alteration in ownership mandates a waiting period of 3 years prior to going public, 2 years for Shanghai's Star Market, and 1 year for Hong Kong listings. Ma only owns a 10% stake in Ant Group, an affiliate of e-commerce giant Alibaba Group Holding Alt, but has exercised control over the company through related entities, according to Ant's IPO prospectus filed with the exchanges in 2020. Ma's Hangzhou Yunbo, an investment vehicle for the billionaire businessman, had authority over two other entities that owned a collective 50.5% stake in Ant, according to the prospectus. This surrender of control arrives as Ant nears the conclusion of its restructuring mandated by authorities, which are expected to be accompanied by a penalty exceeding $1 billion, as reported back in November 2020, according to Reuters. The expected penalty is part of Beijing's sweeping and unprecedented crackdown on the country's technology titans over the past 2 years, which has sliced hundreds of billions of dollars off their values and shrunk revenues and profits. But Chinese authorities have in recent months softened their tone on the tech crackdown amid efforts to bolster a $17 trillion economy that the COVID-19 pandemic has badly hurt. Even though China has a lot to focus on, they do take anything against their reputation very seriously. With the Chinese economy in a very febrile state, the government is looking to signal its commitment to growth, and the tech and private sectors are key to that, as we know, said Duncan Clark, chairman of investment advisory firm BDA China. Ant Group businesses also span consumer lending and insurance products distribution, said Ma, and 9 of its other major shareholders had agreed to no longer act in concert when exercising voting rights and would only vote independently. It added that the shareholders' economic interests in Ant would not change due to the adjustments. Ant also said it would add a 5th independent director to its board, so that independent directors will comprise a majority of the company's board. It currently has 8 board directors. As a result, there will no longer be a situation where a direct or indirect shareholder will have sole or joint control over Ant Group, it said in its statement. Recently, Jack Ma has been seen in Hong Kong, and it was reported that he was there for a series of meetings with tech and finance executives, sustaining a recent flurry of activity that's taken him around the world in the span of months. The billionaire, who's kept a low profile since Beijing in 2020, singled out first Ant Group Co. and then Alibaba for regulatory overhauls, has been meeting prominent figures based in the city, the Hong Kong Economic Times reported, citing anonymous sources. Ma arrived in the past few days, but his exact agenda remains unclear, a person familiar with the situation said, asking to remain anonymous discussing private arrangements. In April 2021, Reuters reported that to relinquish his stake and control over Ant, one of the most successful companies in China managed by the famous businessman Ma, he was exploring potential options. The Wall Street Journal further elaborated on this news a few months prior, citing anonymous sources who mentioned that Ma would put Eric Jing, CEO of Ant Group, at the forefront with some voting rights transfer from himself. Ant's market listing in Hong Kong and Shanghai was derailed days after Ma publicly criticized regulators in a speech in October 2020. Since then, his sprawling empire has been under regulatory scrutiny and going through a restructuring. Once outspoken, Ma has largely remained out of public view since the regulatory crackdown that has reigned in the country's technology giants and did away with the laissez-faire approach that drove breakneck growth, and said on Saturday that its management would no longer serve in the Alibaba partnership, a body that can nominate the majority of the e-commerce giant's board, affirming a change that started mid-last year. What do you think will be the implications of Jack Ma giving up control? And is this really a downfall for him? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments, and we'll see you in our next video.